Shalom, and welcome back to Bnei Noach Academy, Thoughts on Life. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. So, in continuation of our series on the Holy Temple, in observance of the 9 days, culminating with Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the anniversary of the destruction of the first and second Holy Temple, we will continue with some insight and some inspiration on this amazing edifice, both in the material and spiritual sense. So, continuing in Pirkei Avot, in Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 5, paragraph 5. Again, as we said in the previous class, it describes the 10 major miracles which took place in the Holy Temple. I underscore the 10 miracles which took place in the Holy Temple. And after describing 9 amazing miracles, it culminates with the 10th miracle, and it says, quote, "And no man ever said to his friend," that means no one said to another, "Tsar li hamakom," how difficult is this place, Shalim Yerushalayim? How difficult, how congested is it that I should lodge overnight in Jerusalem? In other words, no one complained about the accommodations. Now let me give you some insight and explain what is the greatness of this miracle. Maybe they had 5-star hotels. Maybe lodging was so good and the accommodations was so good and breakfast and lunch was fantastic that's why no one complained. Why is that a miracle? Well, the answer is that if one knows actually what took place, in plain simple English, Jerusalem at the time of the pilgrimage was an absolute mess. The city was, you can say, from a practical, physical standpoint, was disaster, almost. And I'll explain to you why. You see, there is a concept in the Torah, which is a whole important subject in itself, and that is the laws of purity, ritual purity, and ritual impurity. One of the most severe forms of ritual impurity is coming in contact with a dead body. But that's not it. Not only coming in contact with a dead body makes one impure, but even being under the same roof, being in the same building, being in the same edifice, in the same tent as a dead body renders a person ritually impure. Now imagine the people who made the trek to Jerusalem. Some of them, it took them 2 weeks or so, okay, in the mode of travel that they had then. And imagine doing that, making that trip, coming there, and then being in the building and somebody takes ill and somebody suddenly dies. Now you can't enter the Holy Temple. To make matters even worse, what happens if you're in that building, you become ritually impure, and you don't even know about it? You're not aware of it. You're still ritually impure. You're still under the same roof. But now that you don't know about it, and you enter the Holy Temple because that's what you came from, even though you're doing it unintentionally, but you're committing a sin. So not only you haven't performed the great mitzvah, fulfill this amazing commandment of being seen by God, of coming to pay respects for the pilgrimage, now you've committed a sin. So in order to avoid all of that, the custom was that people who came to Jerusalem, I'm talking about the hundreds of thousands of people, and many of them were families with little children, they all camped out under the open sky. So imagine the streets and the sidewalks were full with people camping out there under the open sky. Now, people camping out also, not only they need to sleep, they also need to eat. So you can imagine, just try to use your imagination, what kind of mess it was. And it was highly uncomfortable. Under normal circumstances, most people would complain and bicker. Most people would say, I can't be here. I can't stand this. This doesn't make sense. And that would be normal. That wouldn't be like they're, so particular. No, it was because practically speaking, literally speaking, this was a mess. Like I said before, a disaster. However, no one ever complained. But here's the question. Remember, and I underscored it, that in the beginning of this paragraph, it says that these were the 10 miracles that happened in the Holy Temple. This is not the Holy Temple, this is Jerusalem. I mean, true, it's a miracle, maybe associated with the Holy Temple, but how did this miracle take place in the Holy Temple? The answer is that this is a direct result of the Holy Temple. Under normal circumstances, not only would people do it, but they should be complaining in such circumstances, in such a situation. However, the Holy Temple left such a great inspiration on them. The Holy Temple left such an indelible impact, spiritually speaking, that all the material discomfort didn't even play a role anymore. So the fact that they were later in Jerusalem staying overnight and not complaining is a direct result of what took place, of the inspiration that they became infused with, that they became embedded with in the Holy Temple. So indeed, this is a miracle that took place in the Holy Temple. Of course, what is the message for us? Of course, we need to be comfortable. And in fact, the Talmud itself says elsewhere that a comfortable dwelling place actually broadens the mind of a person. When you are in a comfortable setting and have, your basic creature comforts, you're able to function better, and you need that. But at the same time, be a little spiritual. Don't get too engrossed in the material. Don't get too entrenched in the physical material things. Be a little bit, just a step above.